Jaya Jaya Sri Caitanya Jaya Nityananda Jaya Dvaita Chandra Jaya Gaura Bhakta Vrinda Jaya Sri Caitanya Jaya Nityananda
Jaya Sri Caitanya Nanda
Jaya Dvaita Chandra Jaya Gaura Bhakta Vrinda
Jaya Dvaita Chandra Jaya Gaura Bhakta Vrinda
Jaya Jaya Sri Caitanya Jaya Nityananda
Jaya Jaya Chaitanya Jaya Nityananda
Jaya Dvaita Chandra Jaya Gaura Bhakta Vrinda
Jaya Dvaita Chandra Jaya Gaura Bhakta Vrinda
श्री चैतन्य भागवत की जय। श्रील वृंदावन दास ठाकुर की जय। श्रील प्रभुपाद की जय। समवेत गौर भक्त वृंद की जय। ओम अज्ञानतिमिरान्धस्य ज्ञानाञ्जनशलाकया चक्षुरुन्मीलितं येन तस्मै श्रीगुरवे नमः। श्रीचैतन्यमनोभीष्टं स्थापितं येन भूतले स्वयं रूपः कदा मह्यं ददाति स्वपदान्तिकम्। नमो ओम विष्णुपादाय कृष्णप्रेष्ठाय भूतले श्रीमते भक्तिवेदांत स्वामिनिति नामिने नमस्ते सारस्वते देवे गौरवाणी प्रचारिणे निर्विशेषा शून्यवादी पाश्चात्य जय श्री कृष्ण चैतन्य प्रभु नित्यानंद श्री अद्वैता गदाधर श्रीवासादि गौर भक्तवृंद हरे कृष्णा 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 हरे 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 राम 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 हरे। श्री चैतन्य भागवत की जय। श्रील वृंदावन दास ठाकुर की जय। श्रील प्रभुपाद की जय। समवेत गौर भक्तवृंद की जय। हरे कृष्णा dear devotees, welcome to today's Sri Chaitanya Bhagavat reading. We are reading from the Antya Khanda of Sri Chaitanya Bhagavat. So in Chaitanya Bhagavat we were reading about what were we reading? Lord Chaitanya's deliverance of Sarvabhauma, revelation of his six-armed form, and journey to West Bengal. So journey to West Bengal is what we are reading in Chaitanya Charitamrita also. Well, that's just the synopsis we are reading. But yeah, so Mahaprabhu is delivering Sarvabhauma Bhattacharya and he's revealing Shadbhuja Gauranga form to Sarvabhauma Bhattacharya, and Mahaprabhu travels to West Bengal. So we read that Mahaprabhu is now in Jagannath Puri. All his servants, he has arrived in Jagannath Puri, and how he was carried to Sarvabhauma Bhattacharya's house, and all the devotees followed there. And then, um, um, then Mahaprabhu was in a state of ecstasy, unaware of the external world, unconscious. And after 9 hours, when the devotees performed kirtan, then Mahaprabhu came back. And after that, Sarvabhauma arranged for Mahaprabhu and the devotees to go and take bath in the ocean. And then they came back and he arranged for their Mahaprasadam like that. Then Chaitanya Mahaprabhu tricked Sarvabhauma Bhattacharya by saying that please instruct me. I want to achieve love of Krishna, but uh, you are the person who can give it to me. Mahaprabhu is telling Sarvabhauma Bhattacharya, I want to get love of Krishna. That's why I came to Jagannath Puri. Why I came to Jagannath Puri? To get love for Jagannath, to see Jagannath. But you are the person in charge who has it. Please bless me. Sarvabhauma Bhattacharya also accepting Chaitanya Mahaprabhu like a subordinate began to instruct him. And he said, why did you take sannyas? Such a calamity. And then we were reading about what are the pitfalls of one who accepts sannyas, how he becomes very proud. So that's what we have been reading. Like at length, Sarvabhauma Bhattacharya explains uh, about what happens to someone who takes sannyas. He becomes proud and he will not humble himself before the Supreme Lord, thinking himself to be Narayan. Right? The fact is, what should be the consciousness of all living entities? They should offer dandavat obeisances to every living entity. Humility is the first principle. You should offer dandavat obeisances to every living entity. Why? Because the Lord is residing as Paramatma in every living entity's heart. And when you become a sannyasi, what do you think? I am that Supreme Lord. Everyone bows down before me. Everyone gives me gifts, right? And people also, when sannyasi is there, they immediately start bringing big offerings, offering of obeisances to him, giving him all facility. And this is a calamity. This is a calamity because it's going against the principle taught by Bhagavatam. The principle is to be humble, but when you become a sannyasi, you're thinking that you are Narayan, and they start addressing also Namo Narayanaya. So therefore, Jivera Swarupa Hoy Krishnera Nityadas, that principle is um, uh, thwarted by accepting sannyas. Right? And then further, now Sarvabhauma Bhattacharya explains why. What is the position of the Lord that that it is so condemned if somebody is not bowing himself down before the Supreme Lord? What is his position? How merciful is he? And how much we are dependent on him for everything. While in the womb, the Supreme Lord is the one who's protecting the living entity. And not only that, he's protecting him and he is speaking to him also, giving him instructions and all that. And the living entity is also praying to the Lord. But once he comes out, he forgets everything. So, such a merciful Lord who follows you as a Paramatma, as the Paramatma, wherever you go in different bodies because of your karma. But wherever you go, the Lord is following as Paramatma to give you protection, to give you guidance, to give you remembrance. Ishvara sarva bhutanam hriddeshe arjuna tishtati. No. Um, what is the other one? Smritir Jnanam Apohanam Cha. Ishvara Riddesha Arjuna Tishtati. No, not that one. 15th chapter. Matta Smritir Jnanam Apohanam Cha. I am seated in everyone's heart and I am the cause of everyone's knowledge, forgetfulness, and remembrance. So,
सर्वस्य चाहम
thank you.
सर्वस्य चाहम
Vishto Matta Smritir Jnanam Apohanam Cha. Yes, I am situated in everyone's heart. And I give them forgetfulness, remembrance, and I give them knowledge. So, this is the Lord's position. He is the Lord even for Lord Brahma, Lord Shiva, for Lakshmi Devi, and for Anantasesh also. He is the master and they are all servants. And such exalted great personalities, they want to get an opportunity to serve him. Right? So many pastimes can be said about that. How they are hankering for the service, for the dust of the lotus feet of the Lord. Such is the position of the Supreme Lord. He creates, maintains, and destroys this whole material world. In spite of all this, a sannyasi is supposed to be very learned, right? In the scriptures. But still, a proud sannyasi shamelessly calls himself master. I am the master, right? That means he's covered by ignorance, he's covered by Maya. And again, further, Sarvabhauma Bhattacharya says, I am the father, quoting from Shastra, right? That we should bow down to every living entity because in every living entity there is Paramatma. This is a verse of Bhagavatam. From Bhagavad Gita, he quotes, Pitahamasya Jagato Mata Dhata Pitamaha. I am the father, I am the mother, I am the grandfather of all living entities. So, what is the duty of a sannyasi? Who is a real sannyasi? Simply accepting the sannyas order does not make one a sannyasi. Sannyasi is he, anashrita karma phalam karyam karma karoti yaha. Sannyasi cha yogi cha nan ragnir na chakriya. He's constantly working. Sannyasi doesn't mean, oh, you give up all work and you just sit down and everyone gives me all facilities because now I have become Narayan. This is not a sannyasi. According to Bhagavad Gita, sannyasi means who's working but he's not attached to the results of his work. But somebody who doesn't do any work, who doesn't light any fire, you call him a sannyasi? No, he's not a sannyasi. The real sannyasi is he who has given up the attachment to the fruits of his work, but he's working constantly. Like Srila Prabhupada says, we work 24 hours a day. So that's a sannyasi. So the Sarvabhauma Bhattacharya is instructing on the principle of sannyas. Further on, he is explaining on this. Who is a true sannyasi? A person who only accepts food in charity but does not work to please the Lord is not a true sannyasi, right? Simply accepting, going door to door begging because he is a sannyasi, but he is not actually doing any service to the Lord, then he is not a true sannyasi. Again, quoting from Bhagavatam. Your only activities should be to please the Supreme Lord. Our education should be such that one become elevated in Krishna consciousness. The goal of all activity, all aspirations, all education, all planning should be to become Krishna conscious. Then what is true religion? What is true duty of every living entity? To please the Supreme Lord with their actions, with their every action, with their every aspiration. If one pleases the Supreme Lord, that is his, then he is situated in his natural position, constitutional position. Yeah. And anyone who does this, then, you know, this is the peace formula, right? Bhoktaram yagya tapasam sarvaloka maheshwaram. Suhridam sarvabhutanam. Understanding the position of Krishna and offering everything that we have for his pleasure. When someone does that, then he is actually peaceful at heart. And when there is peace, only then you can be happy. Now, if somebody says, but this is your interpretation of the Shastra. Now, so if Mahaprabhu were to say, but this is not what Shankaracharya has taught, that's not his idea. Because when they say Namo Narayanaya, right, because their understanding is ultimately it's only Brahman. That's the supreme, that's the highest realization of absolute truth. And we are all that Brahman. So if somebody says, but Shankaracharya doesn't say this, then Sarvabhauma Bhattacharya, he himself is putting the counter argument and he is giving the answer also. So he's saying if someone says Shankaracharya does not agree with you, then I will give these words of Shankaracharya himself. What is that? O Supreme Lord, even though you and I are not different, right? We are Brahman. You and I are not different. Still, the difference is you are the master and I am the servant. I am your property, but you are not my property, isn't it? Yes, he is Brahman and I am Brahman. Still, he owns me, I don't own him. And an analogy for that is the wave is the property of the ocean is not property of the wave. These are the words of Shankaracharya to refute the argument that, oh, we are the same. So, what is the answer? The argument is, you own me, but I don't own you. Example, the wave is the property of the ocean is not the property of the wave. So, like that is explained. I come from you. Aham sarvasya prabhavo mattah sarvam pravartate. Everything is coming from the Lord. So I am coming from you. But have you ever seen anywhere it is said that the Lord is coming from me? From all living entities, the Lord appears from there? No. Waves come from ocean. Ocean does not come from a wave. So this world is yours. You are the creator. You are the father. You are the protector. You are the maintainer. So anyone who does not worship and serve the Supreme Lord, who protects the world and from whom the world is born, right? He is protecting, everything's coming from him. He is the father. You're completely dependent on him. Just imagine, like you are in a family, your father has given birth to you, and he is working and he is maintaining you. He is paying the bills, he is giving you food, clothing, education, and everything. And then you say, how are you superior to me? You don't honor him, you don't respect him, and you say, I'm as good as you. Although you're completely dependent. I'm not speaking of when you grow up. Even after you grow up, culture is one is always indebted. But even when you're completely dependent, that's our position. We are completely dependent on the Supreme Lord. While being completely, that's talking about sannyas here, right? Sannyasi, who says now, I have become Narayan. He is still completely dependent on the Lord. It's not that once upon a time he was dependent and now he is independent. He's still completely dependent. But he claims, now I have become Narayan. Such a calamity. This is not acceptable. So, and if you're saying, I'm saying this on the strength of Shankaracharya's philosophy, then this is what Sripad Shankaracharya is saying also. These are his words. So, anyone who does not worship and serve the Supreme Lord, who is the protector and from whom this world has come, then such a person should be condemned thoroughly. He should be completely, thoroughly condemned. He should be shunned. He should be ostracized. He deserves to be completely rejected. One who does not worship and serve the Supreme Lord. Because that is his position. Whether in a liberated state or conditioned state, he is always completely dependent upon the Supreme Lord. He is not independent. This is the meaning of Shankaracharya's words. And without understanding the truth of Shankaracharya's philosophy, simply shaving one's head, one thinks that now I have become Narayan. So what is the duty of a sannyasi then? Sannyasi is expected to be even more advanced because he is the leader. Sannyasi of the four, in fact of the 8 orders of Varnashram, we have Brahman, Kshatriya, Vaishya, Shudra, Brahmachari, Grihastha, Vanaprastha and Sannyas. Amongst the 4 Varnas, the Brahmana is the leader. But amongst all 8 orders, Varnas and Ashrams, the leader is the Sannyasi. He's the one who's guiding the society because he's wise, he's learned, he's advanced. Then he should set the right example. Yad yad acharati shreshtas tat tad evetaro janah sayat pramanam kurite lokastad anuvartate. If he's the leader, if he's guiding, then he should set the right example. What should he do? If the duty of all living entities is to serve the Supreme Lord, the sannyasi should be the first. He should be first, standing ahead, serving the Supreme Lord, rendering devotional service with great love, chanting the names of Lord Narayan, so that everyone else will follow. This is the duty of a sannyasi. Not that claiming himself to be Lord Narayan. So Sarvabhauma Bhattacharya is saying all this. With great love and devotion, a sannyasi should chant Narayan at every moment. If a person not understanding the true meaning of Shankaracharya's words, if he turns away from bhakti and if he simply takes the sannyas order, what is the result of that? Simply by taking sannyas, you're going to be liberated. So many verses are there in Bhagavad Gita. The 3rd chapter, in the 5th chapter, in the 18th chapter, 12th chapter. One does not become liberated simply by taking sannyas. No. You don't become liberated by accepting the sannyas order. There is this misunderstanding that if one becomes a sannyasi, then his parents, his ancestors become delivered. Yes. But what type of sannyasi? What do you mean by a sannyasi? Wearing saffron cloth and shaving your head, is that sannyas? What is a sannyasi? That's what is being explained here. But of course, why Sarvabhauma Bhattacharya is teaching all this to Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu? Because Chaitanya Mahaprabhu accepted sannyas because that was the one that was most respected, most prevalent, and the acceptable form of sannyas in those days. So Mahaprabhu accepted at school. So then Sarvabhauma Bhattacharya is telling Chaitanya Mahaprabhu. So then further on, he doesn't stop here. Why did you take this sannyas? And also, besides that, at such a young age, that's another point, right? First of all, why did you take sannyas? Bhakti can be done if the goal of life is doing bhakti, because sannyasi, what is the duty of a sannyasi? At every moment, he should be chanting Lord Narayan's name. If that can be done, chanting the names of Lord Narayan can be done even as a grihastha, why one has to accept sannyas? What is the need? And especially when there is so much risk in taking sannyas that you start becoming proud and which is going to hamper your bhakti, why should one accept sannyas? Why did you take this sannyas? Sarvabhauma Bhattacharya is saying. And another point is Mahaprabhu is so young. That's another thing, right? So, when does one take sannyas? Only after 3/4 of one's life has passed, right? So you get married and then you have a family, you work and all that, and you understand. Because why? Desires are there in the heart, right? So you see that, oh, there's no value after you work and work and work. Because when you're young, you think, oh, you have these aspirations, isn't it? Oh, I have to become a doctor, or I have to do this, and one day I will get married, I'll build my own house, I will keep my parents in my house and I will serve them if you're pious, right? Or this and that. You have so many aspirations, and you'll have a family and you'll do this and that. But the result of all this is, to do all that, first of all, there's so much of toiling hard, and still there is no happiness. Maybe some flickering absence of misery here and there, but so much suffering. And after all that, you have to die. So much attachment, so much suffering, because you'll have to lose all that you have acquired, and all the loved ones you have to leave and you have to go. So much suffering. So then, after all this, after 3/4, right, working hard for the family, uh, getting kicked by the material nature again and again and again, a man finally learns his lesson. If he's fortunate, not everyone learns his lesson, by the way. Then, after 3/4 of his life is passed, then he will take sannyas with all that maturity and all that wisdom and experience. That's when one accepts sannyas. You are only such a young person, 24 years old, right? Mahaprabhu came right after he took sannyas. And when he took sannyas, he had just turned 24, or he was about to turn 24 actually. Mahaprabhu left in the, during Makar Sankranti, and soon after that, 1 month later was his next 24th birthday, appearance day. So, you are still young. How do you have the eligibility to take sannyas at this young age? Right? And in your particular case, Sri Krishna Chaitanya Mahaprabhu, in your case, you have such exceptional devotion. This is certainly the mercy of the Lord. Sarvabhauma Bhattacharya personally saw when Mahaprabhu fainted in front of Jagannath, and he saw that there was practically uh, no sign of life in his body except for very faint. He kept some cotton fibers near his nostrils. Very, very gently they were moving. Other than that, he couldn't hear heartbeat, he couldn't feel the pulse, nothing. But just when he saw that cotton fibers slightly moving, oh, there's still life. And then he took him home. And how he entered this state? By seeing Jagannath. Such devotion he has. So Sarvabhauma Bhattacharya, you have such devotion. This shows that you already have the mercy of Lord Jagannath. You could have continued nicely like that. Why did you take sannyas at such a young age? This is what Sarvabhauma Bhattacharya said. Then after hearing this, how did Mahaprabhu respond? Mahaprabhu said, who is Mahaprabhu? He is that same Lord Narayan. He is saying, please listen, O saintly Sarvabhauma. Actually, I am not a sannyasi. I wanted to meet Krishna, and out of intense desire, being tormented by separation from Krishna, I left home looking for him. And in that state, I just cut off my sikha and I left home. Not that I have accepted sannyas because, all the things that you said. Don't think that I'm a sannyasi, right? Please treat me like your subordinate, your servant. And he said, you give me mercy so that I may always think of Krishna. I want to practice devotional service. In this way, Mahaprabhu cast his Maya potency on Sarvabhauma Bhattacharya and made him believe that Mahaprabhu is actually his junior. Right? So Sarvabhauma is not seeing Mahaprabhu for what he is as a Supreme Lord. So if the Lord wants to bewilder his servant, who can overcome that bewilderment? So the Lord places his Maya potency before him. How can a devotee understand the truth? If the Lord doesn't reveal himself, how can anyone know him? Now we will come to today's reading. The Supreme Lord was still pleased with his servant's words, even though the servant did not understand what was happening. Right? See, everything that Sarvabhauma Bhattacharya said was actually in line with bhakti only. So Mahaprabhu was very pleased with whatever Sarvabhauma Bhattacharya said. But only whatever Sarvabhauma said was not applicable to Mahaprabhu. Still Mahaprabhu was pleased with him. Although his servant was bewildered by the Maya potency, still Mahaprabhu was pleased with him, with the instructions given by Sarvabhauma, his concerns. The Supreme Lord always enjoys pastimes with his servants. His servants are the reason he personally descends to this material world. This is actually the real purpose why the Lord comes. He comes only for his servants. And servants also, what servants? His pure devotees who have surrendered their lives to him. He becomes a puppet in the hands of his devotees, pure devotees. When such pure devotees call him, now the pure devotees, they have this compassion for the living entities. Why the pure devotees have compassion? Because of bhakti. What is that bhakti? That bhakti is the Lord's antaranga shakti, his condensed form of his Swarup Shakti, Halladini Shakti is bhakti. But when that bhakti increases in the heart, it melts, right? When it increases in the heart of a devotee, then by seeing the sufferings of this world, his heart starts melting. There's a transformation in the heart of the devotee. And with that transformation, now that bhakti melts and starts flowing in the form of compassion toward the suffering souls. Doesn't it happen to the Lord? No. When the Lord sees the suffering of the conditioned souls, doesn't his heart melt and flow? No. Why? Because the Lord has no experience of being a living entity, a Jivatma. He's always Bhagavan, Paramatma or Bhagavan. So he never undergoes the pains and sufferings which a living entity undergoes. Just to give you an example, uh, uh, sometimes children, when they're growing up, they siblings can, you may have had that experience yourself, I don't know. They are more comfortable revealing their heart to their siblings or friends of same age because they can understand exactly what they are feeling, what they're going through. But from a parent's perspective or an adult's perspective, you may not actually understand what exactly it is. Because from your side, what's there in this, right? It's not a big deal. It's not so important. Because you are thinking from a parent's point. But from that child's or that, a perspective, another one of that age can actually understand. So something like that. So the Lord is Bhagavan. He doesn't have, at least in our case, even when you're parents, sometime at some point you were children, right? But the Lord was never a living Jivatma. He was never. He's the Supreme Lord. He does not have the experience of the pains and sufferings of a conditioned soul. He doesn't have that. But the pure devotees have that. They can relate to it. They can relate to it because they are also the same Tatastha Shakti. Pure devotees, living entities, they are also Tatastha Shakti. So they can relate to the suffering. And actually, this is also a quality of the devotees, right? When they see the suffering of others, they can relate to it. They can see how painful it is if I were in that situation, how painful it would be for me. So therefore, they feel so much compassion for that person. You can see in every episode, Arjun on the battlefield, why he is feeling so sorry for the other party. Because a pure devotee's nature is he sees if he were in that situation, how painful it would be for him. This is called Sama Sarveshu Bhuteshu. Why he is equal to everyone? Because he sees their pain as his own pain. He takes it as his suffering. When he sees someone starving, his heart melts because he understands himself that he accepts that suffering as his suffering, as if he were starving. And immediately he tries to relieve the pain of that person. How this happens? This is the result of that Bhakti Shakti. So you cannot say, on one hand, the Lord does not have experience, but the reason that the living entity has the Bhakta, pure devotee has it, is because of the Bhakti in his heart, and this Bhakti is the Lord's internal Shakti. Still, the Lord himself cannot feel this. Therefore, he doesn't hear. He doesn't come. Those who are non-devotees, he has nothing to do with them because he cannot relate to them. He cannot relate to their sufferings or anything. As Paramatma, he plays his role like a government, right? The government punishes those who are doing wrong, punishes, and those who are doing right, rewards them like that. That's all. But heart to heart relationship, understanding, loving, that is Bhagavan. And that Bhagavan will only deal with his devotees. He won't deal with non-devotees. He has nothing to do with non-devotees. But it is the devotees who feel for the non-devotees, and then they go and they wake them up. So it's very, very important for the devotees. So even though we are not pure devotees, but we are sheltered, right? We are getting shelter uh, in the pure devotees. Yes, we take shelter in pure devotees. So we have to assist pure devotees in their compassion. That's why Srila Prabhupada asked everyone to go and preach. Of course, preaching is effective when we are living by that standard ourselves. And then when we preach, then it will touch the other person's heart. And the whole idea is everyone is burning in the forest fire, suffering. So, to relieve their suffering, right? That suffering can only be relieved when they once again come back to their natural position of rendering loving devotional service to the Supreme Lord. Otherwise, there is no solution. Taking to this yoga process or that, trying to get better in this material world with higher education or earning more money or getting trying for the best spouse and get admission into the best universities, they are not going to make them happy. All these things are not going to make them happy. They may have all these goals in life. What to speak of this, even if you went all the way up to Lord Brahma's planet, still you'll have to be in this material world only. You cannot escape the pain of material existence. That's only possible by taking shelter of Krishna. So therefore the devotees are very, very compassionate. The devotees are very, very merciful. So uh, the Supreme Lord always enjoys pastimes with his servants. He only enjoys his, and it is for his servants' purpose that he comes to this world. Because, yeah, he only deals with his servants. So when a servant, because the servant has this compassion, and the Lord is only dealing with the servant is praying to the Lord, my Lord, please come, please come, please come. Because the servant also understands, he doesn't think that now I'm preaching, so I'm going to deliver all these people. That's another illusion. Who am I? It is only the Lord who can deliver. He is the one omnipotent, not me. It's like a pen in the hand. Yes, the pen may be writing, but the pen cannot write anything on its own. It is the person writing with his hand. So Krishna is that person, and we become pens or we become various other instruments. That is proper understanding. So therefore the devotee doesn't think, now I'm going to go out and deliver all these people. No. Who am I to deliver anyone? Only my Lord can deliver. So he prays to the Lord. He is ardently, again and again you see Srila Prabhupada's prayers, you see Srila Bhaktivinoda Thakur's prayers, you see uh, uh, Advaita Acharya's prayers, praying ardently, sincerely. Why? Because their hearts are completely, they're suffering. Actually, they don't have any suffering, but their suffering is when they see the suffering of the conditioned souls. And what type of suffering? Oh, they're poor and they're hungry. No, these are all external. The real root cause of all suffering is everyone is suffering because of forgetfulness of the Supreme Lord. This is actual suffering. And when one becomes a pure devotee, he feels that pain. He cannot bear that pain. It moves him to action. He cannot just sit and, oh, I feel sorry for. No, he has to do something about it. But what can he do? He feels completely helpless. But he cannot just sit there doing nothing. So he prays and prays and prays to Krishna. My Lord, please come. Even giving up eating, drinking, sleeping, he's praying to Krishna because he cannot bear to see the suffering of the conditioned souls. And when a devotee prays like this, then the Lord descends for his servant, for his devotee. Not because he is seeing the suffering of the non-devotees and he's feeling compassion, let me go there and help them. Even if he's helping them, he's helping them because this devotee is calling out to Krishna. There may be other devotees who are very learned in, in the scripture and very learned scholars. But what is most, how do you see the advancement of a devotee? By his compassion, by his compassion. When he feels the pain for others and then he's sincerely, ardently praying to Krishna, then Krishna comes down for that devotee. Why there are so many thousands and thousands of devotees flocking in ISKCON centers compared to other centers, other temples? Because of the compassion of Srila Prabhupada. The Lord is reciprocating with that. So we are not doing anything. All we are doing is we are trying to help our spiritual masters, and our spiritual master is assisting Srila Prabhupada. And Srila Prabhupada is sincerely praying to Krishna. Not that he is thinking, now I will deliver everyone. You see, Srila Prabhupada's prayers, he is praying to Krishna. So Krishna comes. Prabhupada prays in Juhu, my Lord, you please stay here. I will build a nice temple for you. Please stay here. He prays in Mayapur. He prays in Vrindavan. And the Lord just comes for his devotee. Radha Shyam Sundar, Radha Madhav, Radha Ras Bihari, and all our temples, Radha Sharad Bihari. Krishna comes, Chaitanya Mahaprabhu comes for his devotee because his dealings are with his servants only. So that's the point here. The Supreme Lord always enjoys pastimes with his devotees. His servants are the reason he personally descends to this material world. As much as the servant worships and serves the Lord's feet, so much Lord Krishna worships and serves his servant. That is the Lord's nature. Ye yathamam prapadyante tams tathaiva bhajamyaham. Right? As much as the servant worships and serves the Lord's feet, so much Lord Krishna worships and serves his servant. Right? So if you say, my Lord, you are my everything, I don't care for anyone or anything else, the Lord also says, you are my everything, my servant. I don't care for anything else or anyone else. In Bhagavad Gita, 7th chapter, Krishna says, after talking about the 4 types of devotees, Chaturvida Bhajante Mam, Jana Sukritin Arjuna, Artho Artharthi Jigyasu Gyani Cha Bharatarshava. So there Krishna says, of all these, the Gyani, okay, one thing to remember is all 4 of them are devotees. We are not talking about the Gyanis, the Brahmavadis or Mayavadis here. No. Gyani is a devotee who also does some Jnana sadhanas. Okay, and he is attached to Bhagwan, not to Brahman. This Jnani, according to Srila Vishwanath Chakravarti Thakur's commentary. So this Jnani, Krishna tells about this Jnani, oh, this Jnani, he does bhakti to me and he does not ask anything in return. He doesn't even want. So this Jnani is as good as myself. He's my heart, right? He's my Atma. Like, I love you so much. You are my heart, right? You are my heart, right? You are my life, like that. He's my soul. Krishna is talking about this Jnani. And this Jnani is not even aspiring for seva. He's not a pure devotee. Pure devotee means he wants only seva. This Jnani doesn't even want seva, but he has such an attraction Vasudeva Sarvamiti Samahatma Sudurlabha, right? He sees Vasudeva everywhere. He's attracted. His destination is he'll get Shantarati. Shantarati means he's just like attracted. But there's no devotional, there's no seva bhav there. And to that devotee, the Lord says, he is my soul. And if someone says, what about the other three? Artha, Artharthi, Jigyasu. So if you're calling this soul, you don't like them? You don't accept them? No, no, no. They are also. Why? They are also Udara. Udara sarve. Udara. Udara means they're very liberal. They're also very nice. I like them. Why? They're asking you for wealth and for this and that, right? People go and pray to Krishna, bow down and give me this, give me that. And they're attached to Sukha and Aishwarya. Because even if they want something, they come to me. They're not going to someone else. So they feel that, oh, mere hai, Bhagwan. Mujhe jo bhi chahiye, I need anything, I'll go to my Lord and I will ask. They have that faithfulness, right? They come to me only. They don't go to others here and there. Whatever they want, they come and ask me. So I like that. I like that, Krishna says. So they are also good. But of the four, this Jnani, he doesn't even ask. They are also serving, he's also serving. This Jnani doesn't even ask for anything. He's my heart. Now the question arises, Krishna has given the position of Jnani, he's brought him to his level, his same. He's my Atma means he's like myself, my own self to me. Right? So if to everyone the dearest object is himself. Normally in the material world we see that, right? Himself, like when there is death, you try to protect yourself first, generally. How much ever you say I love you, but when there is like that last moment, you just try to save yourself because oneself is the dearest. So Krishna is saying this Jnani is like myself. So he's given the highest position to the Jnani. Now a question arises, then if the Jnani is like himself, then what to speak of someone who has surrendered his life to Krishna, a pure devotee? What position will you give to him? You've already given to this Jnani everything. What is left for his pure devotee? What is your opinion of Kevala Bhakta? Krishna says, he is dearer to me than myself. He's dearer to me than myself. Even, Lord Brahma, Lord Shiva, right? They are great exalted personalities. They are not as dear to me. My own wife is not as dear to me. Lakshmi Devi is not as dear to me as my pure devotee. Anantasesh, he's not as dear to me as my pure devotee. That means even I myself, I don't care for myself. I myself am not so dear to me as this Ananya Bhakta is. So this is the position Krishna gives to his Ananya Bhakta. Even more dear than himself. That's how much Krishna loves his pure devotees. So as much as the servant worships, the Lord serves the Lord, so much the Lord will also worship. So all different types of devotees are there. Artha, Arthati, yes, they're very dear to me because they come to me. And then Jnani, oh, he's like my soul. And Kevala Bhakta, oh, he's more than myself to me. I can sell myself for my pure devotee. Ye yathamam prapadyante tam tathaiva bhajan. The more reciprocation you want from Krishna, the more you give yourself to Krishna. Put your false ego aside, put your other material desires aside. Offer yourself. The more you push yourself towards Krishna, the more he's also reciprocating. This is Krishna's principle. Ye yathamam prapadyante. And if you see someone else getting more mercy, understand why he's getting more mercy. Because he's giving that priority to Krishna in his life. He's putting all other things aside. He's sacrificing other things which we may be hankering after. But that devotee is rejecting all that. He wants only Krishna. Then Krishna is also reciprocating with that devotee. You want that reciprocation, you also do that. So the more a devotee worships Krishna, the more Krishna also worships that devotee, serves that devotee. Why Srila Prabhupada got so much success as compared to all the others. It's not that they are not devotees, it's not that they are not served. They are also still. The more a devotee serves Krishna with unalloyed devotion, the more Krishna serves that devotee. The more one worships Krishna, the more Krishna worships that devotee. That's why that devotee becomes famous all over the universe. What to speak of all over this, world. So, uh, I'll read this part, Mataji. As much as a servant worships and serves the Lord's feet, so much Lord Krishna worships and serves his servant. That is the Lord's nature. He loves his devotees. Who has the power to stop him from loving them? Yes? Who has the power to stop the Lord from loving his devotees? Gazing and gazing at Sarvabhauma, Lord Chaitanya smiled. So coming back to our pastime here, Sarvabhauma is instructing Mahaprabhu why he took sannyas. Sarvabhauma is Mahaprabhu's devotee, right? And he's smiling at his devotee because he loves his devotee. And he's asking him, please teach me. Out of this love, he's saying, who has the power to stop the Lord from loving his devotee? Gazing and gazing at Sarvabhauma, Lord Chaitanya smiled. Bewildered by Maya, Sarvabhauma did not understand what's going on. Sarvabhauma said, it's continuing, he's preaching about sannyas. You are in a higher ashram. The scriptures say that I should bow down before you, that I should become your worshipper, because Sarvabhauma is a Grihastha. Mahaprabhu, much younger in age, but he's a sannyasi. So the etiquette is a Grihastha should bow down and worship a sannyasi. If you glorify me, that is not right, then I become an offender, right? A sannyasi should not be glorifying a Grihastha, like that Sarvabhauma is saying. That's not right. I become an offender if I accept service from you. Then Lord Chaitanya said, please give up all these tricks. In every way, I take shelter of your shadow, not of you, of your shadow. In this way, Lord Chaitanya played with his servant, who has the power to understand Lord Chaitanya's pastimes. Then Lord Chaitanya said, I have only one desire. I will hear Srimad Bhagavatam from your mouth. There is no one but you who can destroy the doubts in my heart. Sarvabhauma said, you have all knowledge. You are very learned. That I know for certain. So Sarvabhauma Bhattacharya is from where? He's from Bengal. He's from Vidyanagar. Vidyanagar, here in Nadia district only. Navadvip. He's in Vidyanagar. Chaitanya Mahaprabhu is from Navadvip, Mayapur. So we know Mahaprabhu is a scholar, such a scholar. He defeated even Keshav Kashmiri when he was still a young child actually. He started teaching when he was 10 years old. He was teaching when he was 10 years old. Like he had his own school and all that. Augandalila. By the time he was 16, he was in his prime youth and he was like completely, you know, like there was nobody, he was famous, everybody knew him. So even Sarvabhauma Bhattacharya knew what a scholar Mahaprabhu is. And now Mahaprabhu is presenting himself as, no, I want to learn Bhagavatam. I have so many questions, doubts. I want to learn from you. Please don't trick me. Please teach me. Sarvabhauma said, you have all knowledge. You are very learned. That I know for certain. What statement of Bhagavatam do you not understand? How can I explain it to you? Right? You know everything. What can I teach you? Still, the devotees like to talk among themselves about devotional service. And to do this, they pretend to ask questions, right? Machchitta madgata prana bodhayantah parasparam kathayantascha maam nityam tushyanti cha ramanti cha. So on all levels, whether in the initial stages of pure devotional service or higher advanced stages, they are relishing discussing, talking to each other about Krishna. So in one of the ways, how can there be how are all our scriptures presented to us in the form of a dialogue? Isn't it? You look at the one, there's one student and one teacher. One person is questioning, one person is answering. And through that conversation, the knowledge is revealed to us. So they inquire from each other. Tell me, like Chaitanya Mahaprabhu asking Ramananda Rai or Sarvabhauma Bhattacharya. So they ask a question and then another is answering. And with that question and answer, they experience great rasa. They get great pleasure. For that reason, they ask questions. Like Aditi Lata Mataji, she asks questions not really because she has a question, but she wants to bring the juice out of the discussion. So she's always making it more interesting. So let's just finish this at least one page and then I'll take. So the devotees like to talk among themselves about devotional service. And to do this, they pretend to ask questions. Tell me where your doubt lies and I will explain as far as I'm able. So Sarvabhauma Bhattacharya also, he made it clear, you are a sannyasi, I am a grihastha, how I can take the position of your superior. This is not etiquette. I will become an offender. And Mahaprabhu said, no, you should teach. Then he said, you are so learned, what is not known to you? But still, devotees like to do this to get the, rasa out of that they like to discuss and they relish it, that rasa of talking about Krishna. So that's why they ask questions. So go ahead. What's your question? I will try to explain as far as I'm able. Gently smiling, the king of Vaikuntha then recited a verse that had 8 syllables in each line. Okay? He recited a verse which had 8 syllables in each line. So in the verse there are 4 lines. Each line had 8 syllables. The Lord said, quoting Srimad Bhagavatam 1:7-10, Atma Ramascha Munayo Nirgrantha Apyurukrame Kurvantya Haitukim Bhaktim Ittam Bhuta Guno Harihi. All different varieties of Atma Ramas. Who are Atma Ramas? Those who take pleasure in Atma or spirit self, especially those established on the path of self-realization. All types of Atma Ramas, especially those who are established on the path of self-realization. That means the Gyanis, that means they are established on the path of self-realization, though freed from all kinds of material bondage, desire to render unalloyed devotional service to the personality of Godhead. So they are established on the path of self-realization means what? They have already realized that they are not this body, they are spirit soul. They are self-realized. So in the Jnana path, if that is the goal of life, right, for Jnanis, the path is just realize Brahman. But after realizing that, still they are desiring to render devotional service to Krishna. What does this tell us? Like that. Okay. Though they are freed from all kinds of material bondage, still they desire to render unalloyed devotional service to the personality of Godhead. This means that the Lord possesses transcendental qualities and therefore can attract everyone, including liberated souls. His qualities are transcendental. Then in the presence of Lord Chaitanya, who is the master of Goddess Saraswati, and by his mercy, who can speak in front of Mahaprabhu? Unless the Lord showers his mercy, who can speak? So Sarvabhauma in the presence of Lord Chaitanya, and Lord Chaitanya, who is the master of Goddess Saraswati, who is the goddess of all learning, by the mercy of Chaitanya Mahaprabhu, Sarvabhauma began to explain this verse. Sarvabhauma said, this verse means that devotion to Lord Krishna's feet is the root of all truth. Devotion to Lord Krishna is the root of all truth. When that devotion is always fully present, then material bondage cannot also be present, either within or without. When devotion to Krishna is present, then there cannot be any material bondage, whether either inside or outside. In this way, the liberated souls serve Lord Krishna with devotion. The great power of Lord Krishna's transcendental qualities is like that, right? His qualities are transcendental. So, yeah, that's the power of Krishna's transcendental qualities. You become liberated, or even liberated persons take pleasure. Anyone who chants Lord Krishna's name becomes liberated. Anyone who dishonors Lord Krishna's name perishes. Wrapped in talking of this subject, Sarvabhauma gave many different explanations of this verse. In 13 different ways he explained that verse. Finally he said, I cannot give any more explanations. Gently smiling, Lord Chaitanya said, everything you said was the truth. Now please listen and I will give a brief explanation. Are my words right? You decide. So Mahaprabhu heard all the 13 different explanations given by Sarvabhauma Bhattacharya, and he said, I will tell you my understanding. You tell me if it is right or not. Saintly Sarvabhauma was very surprised. He thought to give more explanation beyond what he has given, right? That is not humanly possible. It's beyond human power. No human being can give. So you see, these 13 explanation means there are 13 different, like, you have one verse in Sanskrit, you break the words in such a way that it means one thing. And you can break the words in a different way, which gives a completely different meaning of that verse. Like this, Sarvabhauma explained 13 different, completely different explanations of that one verse. And you know who Sarvabhauma Bhattacharya, by the way, is Brihaspati. Brihaspati is the guru of the demigods. He's the guru of the demigods, who teaches the demigods. So who can be more learned in this material world? And now Mahaprabhu is going to speak something more than what Brihaspati has spoken. This is not possible for a human being. He is the guru of demigods. And now a human being is going to speak more than what he has said. This is not possible like that. Hearing the Lord's explanation. Okay, wait. Okay. Now please listen, I will give a brief explanation. Saintly Sarvabhauma was very surprised. He thought to give more explanation is beyond human power. The Lord's explanations were all original, right? Not that what he heard here and there he's speaking. Original explanations. No one had ever thought of them before. You can do that with Sanskrit actually. But still, there will be only limitation, right? That's why Sanskrit is so much fun. I mean, I haven't learned Sanskrit, but I can kind of understand. Not that I understand Sanskrit so much, but I can kind of understand how exciting it must be for someone who knows Sanskrit, because it can keep you engaged. When you learn Sanskrit, it actually broadens your scope of not just knowledge in so many various ways. That's why children are taught Sanskrit, boys especially. They're taught Sanskrit in Gurukul. But anyway, but still it is done under rules. It's not like whimsical. So if there is one line, you can break it into so many different parts and you can give so many meanings, isn't it? But if somebody is a real genius, he may try to give more meaning to that words following the rules. So the maximum meanings that could be given to that verse were 13. Mahaprabhu is giving more, and they were all original. No one had ever given those meanings before. So, hearing those explanations, Sarvabhauma was filled with wonder. In his heart, he thought, is this person the Supreme Lord himself? After explaining the verse in these ways, Lord Chaitanya loudly roared. Then, revealing his true nature, he manifested Shadbhuja Gauranga form, the six-armed form, Shadabhuja. Then the Lord said, Sarvabhauma, what do you think? Am I qualified to accept sannyas now? Showing his form, six-armed form, Mahaprabhu saying, what do you think? Do you think now I am eligible to accept sannyas? In your heart, do you accept that I am a true sannyasi? I came here to show myself to you. Many lifetimes you spent wrapped in love for me. You are my devotee. Huh? Many lifetimes you spent wrapped in love for me. That is why I now show myself to you. To start the Sankirtan movement, I descended to this world. The numberless universes come from me. They do not come from anyone else. Birth after birth, you have been my servant, a servant whose love for me is pure. That is why I now show myself to you. I will deliver the devotees and kill the demons. Don't be anxious. Now offer prayers to me. Gazing at this wonderful six-armed form, a form splendid like millions of suns, saintly Sarvabhauma fell unconscious. What else can happen? He fell unconscious. Manifesting this six-armed form, Lord Chaitanya Narayan roared with bliss. Pleased at heart with Sarvabhauma, the Lord said, rise. Then he placed his graceful hand on Sarvabhauma's head. Although the touch of the Lord's graceful hand had revived his consciousness, the Brahmana Sarvabhauma was stunned with bliss. He could not speak. So we will stop there. We will continue tomorrow. So as I said, we are going slowly, trying to chew nicely. And I went way over time today. Yes, Mataji, Aditi Lata Mataji, if you still have anything to discuss. Can't hear you, Mataji. I am not able to hear you.
The example, I wanted to ask you something, but it was previous thing which you were reading, so we passed that.
It's okay. Hare
Thank you,
Krishna.
Mataji. Hare Krishna.
Hare Krishna Mataji, Hare Krishna.